Well, the Tigers rallied in the eighth inning yet again, but don't get the win this time. Let's talk about this loss to the Rangers all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, April 18th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on a classic Monopoly game. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now for free in the App Store or Google Play. All righty. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Thursday to all. Hope you're having a fantastic week. Hope everyone stayed safe with all the storms that were going through the state of Michigan on Wednesday afternoon. The Tigers finished their ball game just in time. Just in time. For, I guess it was kind of raining there at the very, very end, the last few at-bats, but they do get a game in, and unfortunately, they drop it 5-4 at the hands of the Texas Rangers. They are now 10-8 on the season. This was another absolutely ridiculous baseball game. I feel like that's just evergreen at this point. Like, I feel like all of is probably a slight stretch, but I feel like there's been a lot of weird things happening late in games specifically to this team, no matter who they play. And it's absolutely wild to me that it continues happening. This was another game in which the Tigers got a run in the eighth, tied the ball game up, were tied going into the ninth. They lose this one, but the Rangers made several errors as well that led to runs. That's the second game in a row that's happened. Like, just really weird baseball being played. And the Rangers, we'll talk about it a little bit later, aren't off to a fantastic start to the year. They're 10-9, I want to say, after this win. Yeah, 10-9 on the season. The Tigers, like I said, are 10-8. So let's talk about it, though. Let's talk about what went right and what went wrong. We're going to start off in a loss, obviously, as we usually do, with what went wrong. I hope you're sitting down. Okay, I really hope you're sitting down. This may come as a shock to you. The Tigers were absolutely awful with runners in scoring position. I know. You're shocked. I'm shocked. Everybody is absolutely dumbfounded by this. I know it's new and we don't usually talk about it, but believe it or not, the Tigers struggled with runners on second and or third base. 1 for 7 with RISP. It is truly unbelievable to me what this team does the second a runner gets in scoring position. Going into this game, where again, they went 1 for 7 with RISP, not good. Going into this game, they had a 607 OPS with runners in scoring position. That is the third worst in the entire game of baseball. And you know what's wild about that is their average isn't awful. They're hitting like 240 something. I guess it's about to go down if these are the numbers going into the game. So it'll probably be in the 230s, which isn't good. Okay. I'm not trying to make it sound like that's some great number, but it's not, third worst in baseball. The remarkable thing is not only do they not get very many hits with runners in scoring position, they also, it is always a single. They have an inability to hit an extra base hit with a runner on second and third base. Their slugging percentage as a team with RISP is under 300. Now, we're less than 3 weeks into the season, or we are 3 weeks into the season, right? I think today we're 3 weeks into the season. There's no way. Okay, and I know somebody will be like, oh, you don't know. Like, they might just suck. I get it. They're not going to be a 290 slug with RISP on the season. But that doesn't make it any less frustrating, annoying, and embarrassing and pathetic and lame. Okay? It sucks. It's not good. And adjustments need to be made because this is a snowball effect. This is year after year after year. This team just cannot hit when a runner is on second and or third base. And it's infuriating. It's actually beyond infuriating. The bottom of the sixth inning specifically was something that went really wrong in this ball game. So Torkelson gets a double. We'll talk about that later. Okay, Torkelson's double. We'll talk about that later. He gets a double. He's on second. It's a leadoff double. That means there's nobody out for all of those keeping track at home. Kerry Carpenter finally gets an opportunity against a lefty. The dude throws 3 straight balls out of the strike zone, and then Carp swings at a fastball up and in and pops out, flies out, whatever, lazy fly ball to left field. The pitcher hadn't thrown a strike yet. Fly out to left field. Veerling then comes up and doesn't actually see a strike. He chased 2 pitches way out of the strike zone. And then the first pitch of the at-bat was a bad call. That was 4 inches below the strike zone, 3 inches below the strike zone, and it was called a strike. Okay? That one's not his fault necessarily. But the fact of the matter is, there is a legitimate argument that this dude came into the game and threw, 7 straight pitches out of the strike zone and recorded 2 outs. Does that sound like a dominate the strike zone mentality to you? No. That is horrific and awful. Then Colt Keith gets a grounder, and the ball it's an error. The ball is airmailed, and Torkelson scores. So I guess it worked. No, I'm kidding, obviously. But the bottom of the sixth in a nutshell was infuriating and was the epitome of how poor this team is in high leverage situations with runners on base and with a chance to bring in some runs. Awful. Absolutely awful. Something else that was awful was the defense in this ballgame. 3 errors. 3. We've been talking about all season how the defense has actually been really solid. And, guys like Colt Keith and obviously Parker Meadows, what he can't do at the plate, but he's been good defensively. Javi Baez has been really good defensively. We've been talking about how the team defense has been really good. There was a game, the end of last week, where there was a legitimate argument the reason you won that game was because the defense kept you in it. Right? Matt Veerling making plays all over the place, whatever game that was. So, Keith has been much better than we expected so far defensively. There's a lot of question marks. I raised a lot of those question marks, right? But a lot of people have been talking about, hey, he could not be good at second. He's been great, okay? He had an error in this ball game. So, hopefully, that's just a one-off thing, and we get more of what we've seen so far rather than what we saw today. But that was going to happen eventually. Tarek Skubal, self-induced, self-inflicted wound there, right? Gets an error himself. What was that throw? And he had another opportunity, right? Maybe he did PFPs in between innings, but he had another, obviously a joke, but he had another opportunity in between innings and rifled the ball to Torkelson. It was a strike, beautiful, got the runner, no questions asked. That was my little league coach used to call it a rainbow trout. When you would not put enough, when you would lob the ball in. That's what that reminded me of. And then Torkelson, we'll talk about him throughout this entire episode. He's kind of a theme of this game, but that was just brutal. He has been tragic at first base, besides scooping the baseball. I always have to say that because he is objectively a really, really good scooper. Okay. No one is denying that. He's phenomenal at it, actually. But his entire MLB career, he has been brutal at every other aspect of defense at first base. It really makes it even more wild that he was drafted technically as a third baseman, and that anybody in this organization or this fan base or anyone breathing ever thought for a second that he could have played third base is like hilarious in hindsight. But this has been tough. He has been a negative defender comfortably so far in his major league career. And this season, his defensive metrics are not awful 3 weeks in. But we'll check tomorrow. When the stats update, that might be adjusted now. Just brutal. And again, we'll talk about the offense a little bit later, but not good. And I'm not trying to just single out Torkelson's defense, although it was in a really high leverage situation and directly led to a run. The defense in general in this game by the entire team was awful. And there's a probably winning argument that it single-handedly lost you this game. Can't have that. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. Got a few more things that went wrong, clearly, in this ball game. Then we'll talk about things that went right. And then everybody's favorite segment, stuff. All right, we'll get into all of that right after this. Going to talk to you all today about our friends over at Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with financial safety and a financial safety net starting today. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is also on hand to help talk you through it. You can talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step and easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks so that you can find your lowest price. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs, or even worse, it might not come with you after you leave your job. Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can trust their guidance fully. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google from customers who have found the best fit for their needs. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Just head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB or click the link in the description of this video to get you your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB. Also got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a fan or a player. It's halftime and the scoreboard, it's not looking too great. You're feeling low. You're not sure you or your team can pull out this win. And that's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game and pull off some bank heists that take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get you the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards. You can compare your progress to other people and your friends. There's so much to do. Again, countless Monopoly boards, a lot of fun. The Moon, Las Vegas, you name it. You can smash landmarks with a literal wrecking ball. It's awesome. Charge other players rent for your iconic properties. It is the best. So get back out there and put your game face on, downloading Monopoly Go now for free in the App Store or Google Play. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back tomorrow recapping this final game of the Rangers series and talking about anything else that happens within the organization. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports today. Hopefully, y'all tuned into the Locked On mock draft last night at 7, but regardless, if you did or didn't, Locked On Sports Today, the 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or Amazon Fire TV, keep you up to date with all the latest and greatest from our network in the world of sports. Okay, so talked about the defense at length, honestly, before the break. Probably should have gone to break then talked about the defense, because that ended up being a pretty long conversation. But let's talk about some other things. Jake Rogers, 091, 349 OPS. On the season. Again, we talked about it yesterday. That entire bottom 4 in the lineup. Oh my God. The OPS game. It just, I have to. We have to play it. I'm sorry. I know no one likes playing it. We have to. McKinstry, Keith, Baez, Meadows, Rogers. That's 5. This is your bottom 5, okay, in your lineup. 565, 471, 383, 439, 349. And the guys you pinch hit for them, 755, good job, Matt Vierling, 641, 574. You know how remarkable it is to have an average of almost 300 and a 641 OPS? That's what Gio Urshela is doing. That is all singles. No walks, no extra base hits, just vibes, just singles. We'll see how sustainable that is long term. But regardless, he has the ability to put the ball in play. That's fine. Carson Kelly, after the hot start to his season, has fallen off a cliff, and Jake Rogers hasn't hit really at all this season, besides the home run in the opening series. So, I mean, Parker Meadows' OPS is now 439 after hitting a home run. I mean, the batting. Okay, well, I'm gonna spiral. We need to calm down. Not great. A lot of offensive woes are still continuing and are still prevalent. This team needs to turn it around offensively for the love of everything. Overall, just awful in clutch situations. They got on base today, and I think that was the most frustrating part of it. I say that. I would imagine if we only got 2 base runners, I would have come on here and complained that we weren't getting anybody on. So maybe that's not really fair of me, but it's frustrating when you get on base. You had 6 walks and 7 hits. Like you had 13 base runners. They just literally refuse to do anything when they get a runner past first base. They refuse. It's outstanding. It's astonishing. Absolutely wild. What went right in this ball game? Will Vest, I thought, looked pretty solid. I actually, his results are pretty good. He hasn't given up too many runs outside of the one game where we were up like 8-0 and he gave up a couple. 1 2/3 innings of perfect ball, 0 strikeouts, 0 whiffs, which is kind of weird, but I thought the command was really good. The fastball command specifically was really good, so I'm not too worried about that. Something else that went right, Spencer Torkelson was on time for a fastball. Now, this is not me saying that his game went right today. He went 1 for 4 with the walk and the double. He struck out in the 9th with a runner on base, being the go-ahead run, the runner being the tying run. Had an error that single-handedly then led to the game-winning run for the Rangers. This was not a good day at the office. He was just on time for 1 fastball, and I almost shed a tear. The double, he pulled it to the left side. It was a fastball, hard of the plate. Now it was a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. I'm putting so many caveats on this to really drive home the point at how much he has struggled so far this season. I'm just glad that it's possible. He was on time for a fastball in this game and found himself on second base. It was great to see. And I pray and I hope that it is a sign of the timing maybe improving. Do I think it is? No, I don't think one swing is changing my opinion of Spencer Torkelson's season or his future. No. No, I don't. And he struggled after the double too, which is like the worst part. It's not even like, oh, we ended on a high note. He was on time for 1 though, and we'll always have that. So I wanted to point that out for whatever it's worth, which is probably nothing to most people. Parker Meadows with a home run, center cut fastball, absolutely turned on it. Another walk as well. It's just, I wanted to point this out because it's funny to me and it made me chuckle. Parker Meadows, after hitting, this is like what, his 3rd hit of the year, 4th hit of the year. It's one of those two. I think it might be his 3rd hit of the year. His OPS is 55 points higher than Javi Baez. Javi has a 383 OPS and a 151 batting average after today. Parker Meadows, 077 average, but a 439 OPS. That is the bottom of your Detroit Tigers lineup right there. Tough. Let's keep the ball rolling. Got a few more performances I want to point out. We'll talk Kerry Carpenter, who had a home run in this game. We'll obviously talk Tarek Skubal as well. Then we'll talk about kind of the season up to this point, just briefly, and then get into this Jack Leiter start that we're going to have to deal with today. As you're listening to this, we will talk about all of that right after this. Got to talk to you all about our friends over at Prize Picks. Spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond to your Prize Picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and then add them to your Prize Picks entry today. You can get in on all the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks this basketball season as you and the world's best players take the game to a whole new level. Again, basketball's postseason is underway. Some electric play-in tourney games. And on April 20th, we start the real postseason. Is that cool to call it the real postseason? I don't even know what is and isn't technically the playoffs anymore. But a lot of fun basketball to be played regardless. A lot of fun. You pick more or less on certain player stats. Really fun to do that in the highest moments there of basketball's postseason, but also just starting pitchers like strikeout numbers. That's one of my favorite things to look at with Prize Picks as well. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all greatly for tuning in as always. So, Kerry Carpenter had a homer in this ball game. Absolutely crushed that baseball. 423 feet, something. That thing is gone in dead center of Old Comerica. All right, that thing was absolutely pumped to right field. Good to see. Look. It's tough because he went 1 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, right? And had some high leverage opportunities there. Faced a lefty, didn't come through. Really, just again, cannot stand the decision to swing 3-0 there when he literally hasn't thrown a strike yet out of the pen. Outside of the homer, maybe not the best, but you watch his at bats and you actually think that something good might happen, which is something that I'm not sure I feel with anybody else on the team this present moment. When Mark Canha's up, I think that he might get on base, which is good. Riley Green, I guess that's in the back of my head for sure. He's been struggled the last couple of games, to be honest. He got on base 3 times in this game, and I'm saying he struggled. That's probably not fair at all. But yesterday, 2 days ago, goodness, that game didn't look awesome. But got on base 3 times in this ball game. It's just, again, like it's when a runner is on base, it all goes out the window for everybody. I don't know how it's possible. I'm gonna freak out, and I need to take a deep breath and not. It's really wild to me, and that translates over to Carpenter as well. Again, didn't come through with runners in scoring position in this game either. But did hit the homer, looked good, great swing on it, and has fantastic numbers this season, hitting 290 with an OPS well over 900 at this point early on in the year. So, he needs to be in the lineup every day. He needs more opportunities against lefties. I think we can all agree on that. That's kind of where I stand with that. There's no justification for him being on the bench. And now, He'll play in every game, I'm sure. They'll probably still do the lefty thing sometimes, depending on the matchup specifically. But he needs to be in the lineup, man. This offense, play Kerry Carpenter. Okay, let's talk about Tarek Skubal really quickly. In our stuff category, 6 1/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, only 2 of them earned. Had a self-inflicted error, as we talked about earlier. 1 walk and 6 strikeouts. The velo was down early. I think he was trying to save gas in the tank, to be honest. That's what I think. I don't know that to be true. I don't know that for certain. But in these last few starts, he's been down in his velocity as the game has gone along. Like his last inning, his velo kind of plummets. And I think that this outing wasn't as bad, later in his outing, but earlier, at one point he threw like a 93 mile an hour sinker in the first inning. And I was like, what is happening? So I think that was just an over adjustment on his part to make sure that he had the velo later in an outing. But I think that that's a balancing act that he's going to have to work out. Like Verlander was the king of that, and I'm not saying Tarek Skubal has to be a first ballot Hall of Famer and be Justin Verlander, but that's what made Verlander so great back in the day. Was his effectiveness with runners in scoring position. And just his ability to rear back and throw, 98 to 100 miles an hour in the seventh inning, even though he'd been sitting 95 the entire outing up to that point. Like that's, and again, I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm not trying to say he has to be Justin Verlander. But I think that that's a balancing act he's going to have to walk. The outing as a whole, I didn't really have an issue with. This wasn't his best stuff, but I think he still looks really solid. The defense, again, one of those being his own, just like didn't do him any favors. Also, I don't want to call it BABIP, but just like Corey Seager hitting the ball to the left side like multiple times, like shifts, right? Defensive shifts that ban the shift. They didn't really, they just modified it. And I know that a lot of people are frustrated about that. We've been talking about this for the last couple of years. We talk about it every offseason. We did a whole show this winter about, defensive numbers and where this team stands defensively. In the AJ Hinch era, there are very few teams in all of baseball that have been better than the Detroit Tigers in defensive runs saved via shift. So it's not going anywhere. And the Tigers in general are actually really, really good at it. Like really good at it. This coaching staff does their homework. They know where to set up defenders. Corey Seager does not hit the ball to the left side very often at all. And it just bit him today. That's baseball. It's going to happen sometimes. I'm not losing sleep over a shift not going that way. I understand the frustration behind it, but it works a lot for this team. It's just, I understand the frustration of being, it's really easy to just be like, well, if they were just lined straight up, would have had it. I understand the frustration fully. But the Tiger, it's not going to change. And I don't think it should. The Tigers have really good shifting defensive numbers in the Hinch era. So obviously he made some mistakes too, right? Like I'm not trying to make it sound like some great outing where he just got kind of screwed. Like he made some mistake pitches. The command got away from him at times, but I'm not worried about him. 2.28 ERA on the season. The stuff just didn't really go his way this outing, and hopefully next time it does. Okay, so that's kind of it on this ball game. Another close game for the Tigers. I'm asking if the whole season's going to look like this. Like there was a quote Scott Harris said earlier in the year where he said the pitching is going to keep us in games when the offense is in, because the offense is probably going to be inconsistent. That's slightly paraphrased, obviously, but that was the gist of it. So was this the plan? Was the plan playing a lot of close games and not score? And look, like that's going to lead to a lot of these late comebacks, right? The pitching is going to keep them in games and give them an opportunity to score late and take leads, and that's awesome. But I think I speak for most, if not everybody, when I say I just really would like the offense to turn a corner, please. The Rangers also have been playing some sloppy ball. I wanted to point that out too. A lot of errors this series. 10-9 on the season, not awesome for the expectations going into the year for them. A lot of errors leading to runs, like directly leading to runs this series alone. And the Tigers have to realize they're not going to get bailed out like that all year. So again, just need the offense to click. Offense. I feel like I end every show with that. Just like, hey, hit better, but please, please do. Final game of the series today at 1:00. As you're listening to this on Thursday, Kenta Maeda versus Jack Leiter. Leiter throws a lot of fastballs and can chuck it. He's got a really good fastball, has since Vandy. One of the best college pitchers we've seen in recent memory. Obviously, Skeens is maybe the best we've seen, maybe since Strasburg, who knows? Like he's obviously a phenomenal talent, but a few years back before anybody knew who Paul Skeens was, Leiter and Rocker for Vandy were the two big names. And, Leiter's been getting hit decently hard in the minors, to be honest. The home run numbers aren't great. He's been giving up a lot of long balls over the last two seasons, but he has fantastic strikeout numbers. The secondary stuff is a question for sure, but he has a really good hard fastball that is going to do damage, that can get swings and misses. And the Tigers don't hit fastballs. They just forgot how. The entire roster did something this offseason together. I have no idea, but it has led to all of them being not on time on fastballs. Be on time, please. Please, please, please. And let him walk you. Last year, he walked a lot of players in the minors. Not as much so far this year, but he walked a lot of people last year. Don't be afraid to let him walk you. You still have a chance to walk away against the World Series champs in a 4-game series with a series split, despite how sloppy this series has been for really both teams. And you have a chance to be 11-8 somehow. It's a big game, major league debut. You had a chance to win the 2 games you lost in this series. I would love a win here. I would love a win here. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back tomorrow talking about this series finale and then talking about the weekend ahead against the Minnesota Twins as well. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.